Don in London. Hello, March 17th, 2009. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addiction substance, alcohol, my behaviour, I guess. Trying to be perfect and never so. I often say alcoholic, relationship-aholic, any old holic. And the gift is these days that the ism I have is to try and live life one day at a time. And nature dictates that, really. There's so many mechanisms in us which just go naturally with the flow of living and keep us alive, including our, I guess, innate nature to survive. And for many years I seemed to have that one switched off. I didn't want to live. I didn't feel it was right to. I didn't think I had a life worth living. And these days I've come to understand that I have a life, and keeping sober is my primary intention most days, I guess, every day, because if I keep sober the rest of life can work, and that doesn't mean it's easy, doesn't mean it's a gifted life any better or worse than anybody else's. It just means that life can work one day. So for me, in recovery, type 1 diabetic, also somebody who has clinical depression, using the third person there, I have clinical depression, and I have type 1 diabetes, and these things were diagnosed in recovery, and if I could, I would have blamed myself for them. It's just as nature gave me, if you like. None of us are perfect, and none of us will ever be so, but what we can do is find a balance in life, and that is, I guess, what I do with these videos, trying to find my balance on a daily basis to start the day off, and see where it may go. And what helps me more than anything is going to the fellowship of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't speak for them, or it, or us. I just speak for myself here. But I do use the tools of the program, the 12 action steps for people, and understand the traditions as best I can, which keeps the fellowship going and healthy and safe. But that's only for a day. Same thing. You know, we are what we are on any one day, as good as we can be, or not, as the case may be. At every meeting of AA, though, the preamble is shared and gives an idea of why my life is going along one day at a time. And it goes like this. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So this bit here for me is, that slows me down into the moment of now normally, so I can then speak about now and maybe yesterday. And yesterday I went to 2 meetings of AA, one at lunchtime at St. Philip's, which is just at the top of Earls Court Road, and that was all about As Bill Sees It. Passages read from the book, this one, there's like a daily reading, and then the person doing the chair shares about their experience, hope, strength and hope relating to that issue. And yesterday it was very much about how we change our attitude and behaviour in recovery, so that when we used to be like that in our ism, alcoholism, and now we're in recovery as a recovering alcoholic, change in attitude and behaviour is the key. And to help do that, all the literature, all the way the program is set up, is 12 steps of action for people and 12 traditions to keep the fellowship safe. And I want to refer to As Bill Sees It. It's very pertinent today. Somebody sent me a couple of emails or a couple of comments on my YouTube about God, and I don't know that I can actually answer those, so I haven't actually let them stay there, because I'm not here to be controversial. I'm here to just get recovery. So if you have a burning thing to do with God or not God, or atheist, agnostic or God believer, I'm not trying to push anyone into any particular box, because I don't know that I fit any box all the time. So what about AA? Page 50 in this book, As Bill Sees It, says here, AA, benign anarchy and democracy. When we come into AA, we find greater personal freedom than any other society knows. We cannot be compelled to do anything. In that sense, our society is a benign anarchy. The word anarchy has a bad meaning to most of us, but I think that the idealist who first advocated the concept felt if only men were granted absolute liberty and were compelled to obey no one, they would then voluntarily associate themselves in the common interest, common good. AA is an association of the benign sort he envisioned. But when he had to go into action to function as groups, but when we had to go into action to function as groups, we discovered that we also had to become a democracy. As our old-timers retired, we therefore began to elect our trusted servants by majority vote. Each group in this sense becomes a town meeting. All plans for group action have to be approved by the majority. This meant that no single individual could appoint himself to act for his group or for AA as a whole. Neither dictatorship nor paternalism was for us. And you know, if you try and tell an active alcoholic what to do, what do? They probably don't do what you ask them to do. They do what they have to do, which is to keep on drinking. But in recovery, in this benign anarchy, we get the opportunity to make our own choices. We are powerless over alcohol and life has become unmanageable, and certainly we realise that we are powerless over people, places and things. Or if we try and exert power over people, places and things, we're as much a prisoner as whatever it is we're trying to control. So the gift is the freedom of choice not to drink, and from that follows all the other stuff. And in Daily Reflections, which is a daily read, if you like, just one pager, March is the third month and the third step of the AA program. This is why I keep relating things to God this month. It says here, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. And when it says we understood him, in the benign anarchy, it's what we understand for our own understanding and conception of a higher power or God. And my higher power is good conscience. God is love, God is truth, God works through people. So it's not out of reach to live this way, which is to live to good conscience, to understand that I'm a part of something, be it a benign democracy or a benign anarchy, and that if I am to relate to other people and to be included, I need to understand where I sit within the whole business of life, that is interdependent, not codependent, but interdependent on what is going on around me. So, Daily Reflections, Mysterious Ways. Out of every season of grief or suffering, when the hand of God seemed heavy or even unjust, new lessons for living were learned, new resources of courage were uncovered, and finally, inescapably, the conviction came that God does move in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. And if God works through people, the amount of miracles that happen, that people actually get well from fatal addictions and other complaints as well, or conditions or diseases, or can maintain a balance, like I do with clinical depression and type 1 diabetes and recovery, then his wonders to perform, I guess it's a collective understanding of good. After losing my career, family and health, I remained unconvinced that my way of life indeed needed a second look. My drinking and other drug use were killing me, and that I had never met a recovering person or an AA member. I thought I was destined to die alone, and that I deserved it. At the peak of my despair, my infant son became critically ill with a rare disease. Doctors' efforts to help him proved useless. I redoubled my efforts to block my feelings, but now that the alcohol had stopped working, I was left staring into God's eyes, begging for help. My introduction to AA came within days, through an odd series of coincidences, and I've remained sober ever since. My son lived, and his disease is in remission. The entire episode convinced me of my powerlessness and the unmanageability of my life. Today, my son and I thank God for his intervention. And for me, the God intervention for me was professional help, and being able to accept where I was, and I needed help, and I could not do it on my own. And the gift is the spiritual awakening for me. The spiritual awakening is that I am not excluded or isolated these days. I'm more included and a part of. So when I say, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, that is, to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, that's my choices, and the wisdom to know the difference. I often need help and support to understand what that difference may be.